Virginia Woolf, A Room of One's Own.
Her overarching central claim is women are viewed as inferior to men. Virginia Woolf uses smaller specific claims to support this overarching claim.
Virginia Woolf supports her original main claim with a specific point, that because financial independence was really only possible for men, women in turn could not provide for their daughters financially what men could provide for their sons financially.
Son, I can provide all this money for you because I'm a man.
Thanks. Great.
Woolf states, certainly our mothers had not provided us with anything comparable to all this. Our mothers who found it difficult to scrape together 30,000 pounds. Our mothers who bore 13 children to ministries of religion at St. Andrews.
This is all I have. Here, take it. I love you, daughter.
Virginia Woolf continues to support her overarching theme by showing the unequal educational opportunities between the sexes. Woolf illustrates this inequality by an example within the libraries during her time period. A library should be a place that represents educational opportunity and equal learning environment. However, this was not the case.
But here I was, actually at the door which leads into the library itself. I must have opened it, for instantly there issued, like a guardian angel bearing the way with a flutter of black gown instead of white wings, a deprecating, silvery, kindly man who regretted in a low voice as he waved me back that ladies are only admitted to the library if accompanied by a fellow of the college or furnished with a letter of introduction.
The previously mentioned restrictions support Woolf's overarching claim by showing the disadvantage women face, especially in the production of literature. In Woolf's opinion, women need money and a room of one's own to preserve their writing's integrity. Male writers had both of these two necessities, while as you've seen from the previous supporting claims, this was not very easy to attain as a woman.
What are you doing in here alone? You can't be alone. You need your money.
Don't take my money.
You can't have that or any of that.
I need a
And
room.
you can't write either. That's not allowed.
I need a room of my own and money to write literature.
You should not be in here by yourself, young lady.
To even further her argument, Woolf creates a fictional sister of William Shakespeare. Her name was Judith Shakespeare. Just as brilliant, just as creative, just as adventurous, just as intelligent. But unfortunately, she is bound to the expectations of a woman, including housework instead of school, and forced into marriage at a young age. All the while, William Shakespeare, with all the world's doors open to him, becomes accepted for the genius he is. And Judith eventually kills herself, and her genius is overlooked.
These smaller specific claims successfully illustrate the restrictions women had on them during this time period and throughout history. These examples support the reality of her central claim, that women are in fact treated as inferior to men. In A Room of One's Own, Virginia Woolf's style consists of a lecture structure. She refers to her audience as you. However, her diction is formal, her message is more conversational. She does not place herself above the audience.
Virginia Woolf uses many rhetorical strategies throughout her writing to convey her ideas. For example, she loves using similes and metaphors. And when talking about the anger that men feel when they're writing towards women, she speaks about Professor Von X, and she says, his expression suggested that he was laboring under some emotion that made him jab his pen on the paper as if he were killing some noxious insect as he wrote. But even when he had killed it, it did not satisfy him. He must go on killing it, and even so, some cause for anger and irritation remained. This shows the anger that men felt towards women, and how even after they'd expressed that anger, they still had to put women down even farther.
Along with metaphor, Virginia Woolf also used the rhetorical strategy of rhetorical questions. For that visit to Oxbridge and the luncheon and dinner had started a swarm of questions. Why did men drink wine and women water? Why was one sex so prosperous and the other so poor? What effect has poverty on fiction? What conditions are necessary for the creation of works of art?
1,000 questions at once suggested themselves, but one needed answers, not questions.
Virginia Woolf's use of rhetorical questions helps the reader understand how she is thinking and what her perspective is of the blatant inequality. It also allows Woolf's writing to become more personal, as she questions the state of women in society. These questions also help highlight to the reader what they need to question in their society. Women still have questions. The treatment of women as inferior to men is still relevant today.
Although we progress a lot as women, we are still treated as inferior today. Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own is a very feminist book, and it reminds us to question the traditions that are in society today.
For example, the Me Too campaign. The Me Too movement is characterized by the hashtag #MeToo, where women from all walks of life are coming forward in discussion of sexual assault and discussion of those who have sexually assaulted them on social media. According to the 2016 National Crime Victimization Survey, 77% of sexual assaults went unreported to the police. The Me Too campaign is trying to change that. In a study released by a nonprofit organization, Stop Street Harassment and Reliance, it said that among all female respondents, 27% or 1 in 4 said they had survived a sexual assault. This is out of 2,000 people. The Me Too campaign is bringing people together. However, it still shows how men are treating women. On top of the Me Too campaign, there is a wage gap between men and women. In 2015, an average woman made 80 cents for every dollar earned by a man.
I got my raise today, but it was only by 80 cents.
I got my raise today and it was by $1.
I hate the wage gap. Things need to change.
Whether we're treated as objects in the hashtag #MeToo campaign, or we're not paid enough in the wage gap issue. We must take Virginia Woolf's call to action seriously. We should try
Unfortunately,
to
women are
change
still treated
and
as
progress
inferior
so that
today.
We are no longer treated as inferior to men.